UFC Fight Night, de Ridder versus Allen just wrapped up from Vancouver. This is going to be my full card recap. The card was full of chaos, some crazy results, a big upset in the main event, some strange controversy in the co-main, and in my opinion, a very cooked card. The Wheel of Doom had its greasy fingerprints all over this card. Like I said it would, I had a really hard time predicting this card. I knew the picks were cooked. So the fact that I was able to get 5 out of 13 was a straight up miracle. We did really, really well on picks. No, that's not true. But hey, we can't be getting 10 out of 12 or 10 out of 13 every single week. So first negative week of picks, but I still called a couple of things pretty well. A lot to talk about here, some controversy and some shocking results on the card. We'll get straight into it with the main event. Reinier de Ridder versus Brendan Allen. I picked RDR by round 3 or 4 submission or TKO after breaking Brendan Allen. And in reality, we got the opposite of that. We got Brendan Allen doing that exact thing to Reinier de Ridder. So very surprising for me. I thought Reinier de Ridder would out-hustle, out-bustle, and out-muscle Brendan Allen. And to be fair, he came in looking sharp, and the first round was pure domination. RDR gets a judo trip straight to mount, switching from some submission threats like an Ezekiel and an arm triangle. He rode Brendan Allen's back and mauled him with control and short shots. A huge, dominant 10-9, possibly 10-8 round for Reinier de Ridder. I wouldn't give it a 10-8 because he didn't do a whole lot of damage, but it was a very dominant positional round for RDR. Then it all went downhill. In round 2, Brendan Allen started landing kicks and nearly caught RDR with a spinning elbow at the start. There was a very dynamic blitz by Brendan Allen at the start of round 2 that I think got RDR's attention. But RDR clinched him up and fired some knees back, and I thought he was able to evade Brendan Allen's best shot with his physicality and his speed. So I thought that was a good sign for RDR. But then he made a huge mistake. He slipped off the back and gave up top position. And from there, Brendan Allen just elbowed the life out of him. Momentum completely flipped from that moment. And then by round 3, RDR was slowing down, busted up, sliding off every choke and just not having any success, playing a very defensive jiu-jitsu game. And Brendan Allen was carving him up with elbows from top position. RDR had a massive hematoma on his head and his gas tank was completely cooked. He barely got up at the end of round 2 or 3. In round 4, Brendan Allen picked him up and dumped him down and poured it on with the ground and pound while RDR just laid there playing jiu-jitsu and eating shots with no sign that he was going to make a comeback in this fight. He somehow made it to the end of round 4 and finally his corner waved it off. Well, they asked him if he wanted to continue and he said no. And we get a Brendan Allen round 4 TKO via corner stoppage retirement. Feels like I spun the Wheel of Doom on this fight, to be honest. RDR is cooked and Brendan Allen takes all his hype. I believe that Brendan Allen will move his way up into the top 5, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a huge result for Brendan Allen. Big shift in his career after a big loss spree to see himself inside the top 5, possibly come Tuesday. He said it best on the mic afterwards, "You bet on the wrong horse." And I did that this week because I had a lock on RDR. I was extremely confident that this guy would get it done and break the main event curse of the channel. But unfortunately, the UFC gods have got other plans. So the main event curse remains undefeated. Brendan Allen upsets Reinier de Ridder in the main event and puts himself in the mix at middleweight in a very complicated division. Let's talk about the co-main event, Kevin Holland versus proper Mike Malott. I picked proper Mike Malott by submission or decision. In fact, I called this fight very, very well. And also, I reckon the Wheel of Doom had a bit of chaos effect on this one as well. I sensed a disturbance in the force. I called the Wheel of Doom for the Matt Frivola fight, but I was very tempted to put it on either the Cheeto fight or this fight, which we'll get to the Cheeto decision in a moment. But yeah, the Wheel of Doom, it was out and about for this card. There was some chaos in this fight and some controversy. And Kevin Holland, his career just continues to go from cooked moment to cooked moment. We'll break down the fight. These guys, there was a lot of tension in the air as they started off. I was quite hyped for this fight. They traded some big shots early, and Malott got dropped, and I think Kevin Holland kind of took a knee at one point early as well, but then Malott proper got dropped down, and Holland landed a few good shots on him, and Malott just got his way back to his feet, and they started boxing again, and then I think we got a minor dick kick from Malott early in the fight, and then he got him with the big one. Now, yes, he kneed him in the midriff, in what looked to be like conceivably the pubic region. However, I can't really fault Malott too bad. I was glad they didn't take a point because it didn't look intentional, and Holland's a lot taller and lankier than Mike Malott, so when he raises his knee to try and hit the body, he's got a lot further way to go up. And I know that's not an excuse. That means you still can't knee a guy in the dick, but did it even hit the dick? I don't know. It didn't. It looked like it could have clipped the box or the cup, but it didn't look like the main impact was anywhere lower than the belt line. So I don't know if Kevin Holland's nuts are up on his belly button, but it didn't look that bad to me, especially with the absolute milking job that Kevin Holland gave it. So he milked that thing like it was a dairy cow. He was going right in like a soap opera star. He had his full 5 minutes for a bit of a rest and bunged it on for a while there and rubbed his nuts, tried to make us all feel sorry for him. And I feel like that's what this whole thing was. It was Kevin Holland getting kneed in the balls probably. Yes, no worse than, some other fighters cop at every fight. Yes, it's a shit thing to happen in a fight, and I feel bad that he had to go through that, but he didn't want to be the one to say, I don't want to keep fighting. And this is why we had this awkward, weird, controversial thing from Kevin Holland, and there's always some bullshit on his fights. I swear he needs to be on the Wheel of Doom somehow as well, Kevin Holland, because there's always chaos and cooked results for him in his fights, and this is just another example. I called this perfectly. I said in Kevin Holland's career, he's always got some bullshit that plagues his fights and makes his wins less impressive and makes his losses more excusable. And here again, we have another classic vintage example of this for Kevin Holland. There's an asterisk over this fight because Mike Malott kicked him or kneed him in the balls and he never got to recover properly. However, he had his opportunities to say he didn't want to fight. He didn't want to be the one to do it. He was waiting for the doctor or the ref or someone else to do it for him, but they asked him and put the onus back on him every time, and he didn't say, no, I can't fight. He's kept, I think at one point he said, yeah, I'm good. And from there, they kind of just put the pressure back on him to be okay. Now, it was very hard to score round one because look, I kind of forgot what happened, but I actually thought it could go to Mike Malott. I thought Mike Malott won round one. I think the body language from Kevin Holland was shit for the rest of the round after he got the nut shot. So that was part of the reason why it looked like Malott won the round. But I still think he won, and the optics were there for Mike Malott. Round two, though, I gave to Kevin Holland. He landed cleaner jabs and was tapping leg kicks and stuff, but still completely cursed. I reckon he was recovered, but in between rounds, he was putting a complete carry on and trying to get the fight waved off or a no contest or something. Anyway, after 2 rounds, I had it 1-1. And I just thought, just the way this fight is, it should be that whoever wins this last round wins the fight. And I gave round 3 to Mike Malott. He out-wrestled Kevin Holland. He was more proactive. He took him down. He hunted the arm triangle, almost had that locked in, stacked minutes on top. And even though Kevin Holland probably tagged him with a few good shots and had his nose busted up and had some good moments in round 3, I still thought you had to give that round to Mike Malott. Kevin Holland loses. He goes boom, boom in his career. Like I said he would. If you go back and look through his career, every time he loses a fight, he copes and seethes and rages and 45-70s his way into another loss immediately after. He's done it multiple times, and I said in my prediction that he would go boom, boom here and have another bullshit loss, and hey, called this one perfectly. I've got to celebrate the good predictions on this card because there weren't too many of them. But yes, I thought I called this one quite well. And I don't think you can argue that Mike Malott won and deserved to win that fight, even though he kicked Kevin Holland in the dick. They didn't even take a point. It was that obviously not that bad. So, yeah, harden the fuck up, Kevin Holland. Easy for me to say, but yeah, I'm not a big Kevin Holland fan. I wouldn't be upset if he got cut from the UFC, but he's a good a good guy to get an entertaining fight out of. Good job, Mike Malott. He looked pretty decent. He's not the best, but I like him, and he gets a big moment in front of the Canadian crowd. I reckon he fights D-Rod next. Put him in there with D-Rod. That's like the storyline that we want to see. D-Rod took Kevin Holland's spot, so Malott can take that spot back now by fighting D-Rod. I think that'd be a good fight and a good step up for Malott now that he's on the edge of the rankings or just inside them. Marlon Vera versus Aiemann Zahabi. I picked Cheeto by decision. Aiemann Zahabi pressed forward early, looked good for optics and probably won round one. Cheeto dropped in with a jab in round two and hunted for the finish, but Zahabi survived and rallied late. I still think you have to give round two to Cheeto, so 1-1. And then round three was razor thin. Cheeto landed more volume and body kicks. Zahabi mixed in straights and elbows. In my mind, I thought Cheeto edged that fight. I had Cheeto winning, but I did have the bias factor of I picked Cheeto. But I don't know. I think we can all agree that fight came down to round three. So I think if you go back and rewatch it, I'll have to have another look at it. But I believe Vera had the better optics and the better moments in round three. So the judges gave it 29-28 by split decision to Aiemann Zahabi. A lot of people are going to be calling robbery on this one. I think it had a bit of home crowd stank over it, this one. Bit of Wheel of Doom vibes. Not the best look for the UFC and not the best result, but a pretty typical result for both of these fighters. Aiemann Zahabi called out Sean O'Malley. Yeah, nah, I don't think you're getting that fight, bro. You're not in that same echelon. Even though O'Malley's kind of shit, just hype-wise, who wants to see Aiemann Zahabi go tit for tat with Sean O'Malley? I don't think that'd be that impressive of a fight. So, yeah, Marlon Vera gets robbed. Zahabi gets the win by decision. I was coin flipping on that fight too, but yeah, went the wrong way. Even though I thought he won. Bad luck, Marlon Vera. He'll be back. Manon Fiorot versus Jasmine Jasdavicius. I picked Manon Fiorot by decision. I thought she'd be stronger, bigger, tougher, and a bit too much physically for Jasmine Jasdavicius. And I thought it would go the distance, but Fiorot only needs one round. She lands a clean, straight left jab on Jasmine Jasdavicius and has her doing the chicken dance big time before getting flattened, face down, ass up, no defence, while Fiorot's wailing on her from a dominant position, landing unanswered, undefended shots to the side of the head over and over, and the ref jumps in and stops it. It's a dominant return for Manon Fiorot. I called the winner anyway. I was fairly confident that Manon would get this one done. Bad luck, Jasmine Jasdavicius. She complained fairly consistently about an early stoppage. It was not an early stoppage, but probably felt that way to her because she might have got slept for a moment or just flash knockout. But, yeah, she copped a lot of unanswered shots. She was done. She got TKO'd. Good win for Manon Fiorot. Bad luck. Jasmine Jasdavicius, I like her as well. Doesn't have her favourite moment in front of her home crowd, but she will also be back. Probably next year when they do another Canadian card or in 6 or 8 months when they're back there. So, good win, Manon Fiorot. If Manon Fiorot gets another win over perhaps the winner of Tracy Cortez and Erin Blanchfield, she's right back there in the title mix. She is elite in this division. And she's multiple echelons above a lot of these contenders in this division. And she showed that against Jasmine Jasdavicius. Good win for Manon. Charles Jourdain versus Davey Grant. I wanted to change this pick so bad. Honestly, I've learned a bit of a lesson this week of trying to get the pick video over and done with early in the week and not hanging around to watch the weigh-ins or the shape that the fighters are coming in. I said the same with Matt Frivola. I said if he comes in looking good, even though he was in good shape, I just need a bit more time to sit on the picks and take it all in because I'm a big believer in the intangibles of a fight, and you can't really see the intangibles a lot of the time until you're close to the fight. So, yeah, I did, when I posted my picks, I almost changed this one to Charles Jourdain, but I thought, you know what, you need to stick with what you put in your video. Maybe I won't do that in the future, but yeah, unlucky pick here because I sensed the Charles Jourdain aura. I even said to my mates when this fight started and I saw him threatening the flying knee, I said, just watch, this is going to be a nasty flying knee here for Charles Jourdain. And sure enough, Davey Grant, who was coming in, throwing winging shots while his head was on the centre line, just ducked straight into a perfectly timed flush flying knee from Charles Jourdain and drops him bad, busts his face completely to pieces, and Jourdain, all he had to do was trust his instincts, jump on the ghillie, rolled over to full mount, squeezed tight, and gets to tap by round one mounted guillotine over dangerous Davey Grant, who looked like he'd been in a 5-round war just from that one knee. I reckon his face was completely busted up. So a nasty finish for Charles Jourdain. He's improved a couple of height positions in my mental schema of things, and he called out Marcus McGee. I don't mind that fight at all. Charles Jourdain, it's his best performance, best statement finish of his career. He's decent. He's in the mix there now at bantamweight, so good for him. Give him the Marcus McGee fight. I like that one. That'll be a banger. Good job, Charles Jourdain. No good with that pick. Rest in peace, Davey Grant. Now, Kyle Nelson versus Matt Frivola. My pick was Matt Frivola by spinning KO, and the Wheel of Doom special was depending on this one. The wheel works in mysterious and wonderful ways. It never really works in the way that you think it will, and in this case, it just inflicted a disgusting amount of chaos and controversy and doom. Kyle Nelson, I don't know how this guy ever made featherweight. He came out looking like a roided up Sean Strickland. He looked huge for lightweight, and yeah, he's just moved up to that new weight class. So he could be a dangerous prospect at lightweight if he's got the lighter man skill and being the size he is, and with this level of decent performance over a dangerous guy in Matt Frivola too. We had some mayhem in the first round here, boys. They were going at it. They were both throwing fight finishing intentions, and I knew someone was about to get clipped, and eventually Nelson wobbled Matt Frivola with a nasty glancing shot to the temple and drops him bad, and then pounds him out in the last 10 seconds of the fight, and the ref jumps in with 3 seconds to go on the clock in round 1 and seemingly calls off the fight, but then directs Kyle Nelson, while he's in the middle of celebrating, back to his corner and said the fight is still going. So very, very strange from the referee there. I think it was Big Dan Mergliotta. They even showed the replay of how clearly he still had 3 seconds left in the fight, and the ref actually waved it off. So we've got some weird bloody Wheel of Doom shit. And I don't know, maybe it's ever since the Wheel of Doom has been conceived, we've had these 3 weird kind of half stoppage, non-stoppage moments. Like we had the Jake Matthews, Neil Magny one, we had the Joel Alvarez, Vicente Luque one, and now we've got this one with Kyle Nelson and Matt Frivola. So it seems to be becoming a regular occurrence, and I blame the Wheel of Doom. So chaos in round 1. From there, after Frivola got finished, he just looked like he'd seen a ghost. He got battered every time Nelson connected. Now, it was a very, very damaging fight. This was pretty early early-ish in the card, and there was blood just already everywhere all over the octagon. Nelson was landing head kicks, elbows, heavy clinch work. Frivola did throw the spinning elbow with like 2 seconds left in the fight. I almost shit myself because he clearly lost all rounds, and he was busted up and almost finished multiple times. And he just threw that Hail Mary spinning elbow at the end. It would have been crazy if that landed, but it was too little too late. Kyle Nelson wins by decision, but also by TKO, basically. I don't know what Dan Mergliotta was hearing. He said he heard the horn, but I reckon he must have had his head in the shadow realm because, I did not hear that horn, and no one, I think, heard that horn. So the Wheel of Doom completely cursed this fight, cursed the picks, and Kyle Nelson gets a somewhat impressive upset win. Good for him. He might be an interesting prospect here at lightweight. Moving on to Drew Dober versus Kyle Prepolek. This is a pretty fun fight, this one. I enjoyed watching this. Drew Dober was my pick by decision, and he gets it done by a standing TKO in round 3. After a bit of controversy, and absolutely anyway, we'll get into it. Round 1, Drew Dober was boxing him up, and then I think at some point in round 1 or 2, Dober got a kick check that really damaged his shin and put a big hole in his leg that was bleeding all over the shop. A lot of the octagon blood that we saw at this point was from Dober's leg. And even though Kyle Prepolek looked pretty decent and he landed some good shots and he was putting a bit of visible damage on Dober, it felt like Dober was in control of the striking this entire fight and winning the rounds. Round 3 comes around and Dober just unleashes a nuclear dick kick and really hurts Kyle Prepolek and puts a whooping on his nutsack. Gets a point deducted, and immediately Dober comes out and flips a switch after the break in the stop in the action. Walks Kyle Prepolek down, and Prepolek notably hurt, like a bit like the Kevin Holland. He was a deer in headlights after he got his nutsack ruptured, and Dober just walked him down, knees, elbows, pieces him up against the cage and gets the standing TKO. Dober wins in round 3, kicks him in the balls, takes a breather, and then finishes the job. That is a very crafty performance from Drew Dober. No, but he looked good. Good to see him back in the win column. I called this one right. I thought these boys would have a bit of a kickboxing patient fight where they like fire up the crowd a bit. They got a bit more mean than I expected them to, and there was some damage done, but Dober came out on top, and he did look to be the better fighter. I don't think Kyle Prepelec should be cut. He's put on a couple of gutsy performances. His chin's pretty good. He didn't wear any damage at all in the first couple of rounds until he finally did, and then after he copped the dick kick and Dober pieced him up, he really looked like he got fucked up in that third round. So good win for Drew Dober. Bit of an asterisk on it, but not too bad. Good pick, that one. Moving on to Aoriqi Lung versus Cody Gibson. Complete coin flip. Like, how are you going to know that this is going to happen? Cody Gibson looked like an old-ass crackhead and looked like he was fighting for his dole check, and he got finished like a crackhead trying to win a fight. He looked rough, Gibson. I don't know. It seemed like he'd aged a couple of years since I'd last seen him fight. Looked strange, and he just walked out there and got chinned immediately. Aoriqi Lung lands a laser right hand, sits down Gibson, sleeps him bad, punches him in the head, a couple of super necessary shots. The fight's over in about 20 seconds, and it's a round 1 TKO for Aoriqi Lung, the Mongolian murderer. Little fucking Mongolian T-Rex in a garden gnome hat folded Cody Gibson. So he's going back to the maths classroom, Gibson. Not much of a performance from him. Not much to talk about. Aoriqi Lung gets it done. Next fight was Bruno Silva versus Hyun Sung Park. I picked the HSP by decision, the halal snack pack himself, Hyun Sung Park. Thought he'd out-wrestle, thought he'd just be more technical, more fast, and better overall than Bruno Silva, and it was a bad call. Bruno Silva, the Bulldog, gets a very crafty win over Hyun Sung Park. Yeah, HSP looks stiff, and Silva lit him up with leaping uppercuts and power shots over the course of 3 rounds. Dropped him twice, broke his jaw, out-muscled him everywhere. I love how the doctor checks the fight and goes, yeah, it's broken, we're good, keep fighting. But Hyun Sung Park's jaw was swinging off like he had a 10-pack of Super Mario. But, interesting that the doctor just looked at it and goes, yeah, all good. Keep going. Fight's on. Hyun Sung Park charges in after he was down a couple of rounds and gives up his neck and gets choked out by Bruno Silva in round 3. So the crafty old Bulldog Silva, gatekeeper status fully confirmed. He turns back Hyun Sung Park by round 3 submission. Good stuff from Bruno Silva. Got that pick wrong. Danny Barlow versus DeJordan Santos. This was my first ever lock of the week that I lost, so a bit disappointed in that. Didn't lock it based on much evidence, to be honest. But yeah, Barlow, picked him because I thought he had the slicker hands and he'd be able to outwork Jordan Santos and look cleaner on the feet. But Santos proved to be more gritty, had a better chin. He had the power and the leg kick advantage. Bit of a mouthpiece drama and an eye poke in there at some point. Barlow rocked him, but then he just gassed out and looked really hesitant in round 3. So DeJordan Santos won the clinches and had a bit of time on top, closed the fight very strong, and gets the win by decision. Would have been a robbery if Danny Barlow won it. Some people were crying robbery, but no, I definitely think the right guy won. And the first lock is gone. Damn. Yeah, the fall from grace for Danny Barlow has been pretty swift, hasn't it? A lot of people were very high on this guy, and DeJordan Santos lost to Aussie Diaz. So it seemed like a pretty cut and dry pick, this one, but obviously I was wrong. Danny Barlow, a bit overrated. I will keep that in mind next time he fights. Stephanie Luciano versus Javina Oliveira. The coin flip took this one, did well, landed on Stephanie Luciano. I was glad it did because I was leaning in her direction anyway. Didn't do a lot of research on this, but Stephanie Luciano looked good. It was a decent fight, this, a little bit dull, but Luciano just kept it technical on the feet and then switched to bully mode later in the fight. Tripped, top pressure, round 3 ground and pound until Javina Oliveira turtled up. Luciano jumps on the back, clinched up the rear naked choke and gets a round 3 submission. Pretty dominant, clean performance from Stephanie Luciano. Had a little bit of trouble working out Havana Oliveira early in round 1 and 2. It was somewhat competitive in those rounds, but then round 3, Luciano just flipped the switch and showed to be the dominant fighter. So well done, Stephanie Luciano. The coin flip is back in our favour, and we got that pick. A pick we did not get, however, was Aiemann Zahabi versus Yusri Belgawi. Very surprising result, this one. I picked Bakoyev by finish, and he got absolutely cooked. It really seemed like a bad pick when I saw the two in the cage together. Aiemann Bakoyev, compared to Yusri Belgawi, looked like he had complete T-Rex arms and really was lacking in the speed, in the length, in the range, and just in the overall boxing department. Aiemann Bakoyev, I picked him to crash in and get in tight, take down Belgawi and get a TKO submission. He tried, he charged in head first, but he just got jabbed and kneed to death every time he did. And the damage was done before he was able to even get a position at all. Yusri Belgawi, we've got to give him some credit for his takedown defense. He stuffed everything, looked composed, and that training he's been doing with Alex Pereira must be rubbing off, because he went full Alex Pereira mode late in that fight in round 3. Bakoyev was gassed and hurt and flat-footed, and Belgawi just turned into Alex Pereira against Khalil Roundtree, hunted him down, landed some really accurate shots, and crumpled Bakoyev under a standing TKO after he completely busted him up and demoralised him. So Belgawi gets a really impressive round 3 TKO, looked the best he's ever looked in his career. He's come through the Contender Series, didn't look good at all in those fights, but it goes to show that the Contender Series is actually pretty high level, and Yusri Belgawi, maybe he uses that to springboard into quite a successful UFC career. If he's got anything of Alex Pereira in him, we might have a prospect here, and I like him at middleweight, and I hope they give him some matchups against some interesting strikers. So, or whatever he said at the end there, I liked it. This guy's got a bit of potential. Yeah, great performance from Yusri Belgawi. Hype destroyed on Aiemann Bakoyev. He's going to need to go and do a bit more work now. And the first fight of the night was a good one to get the picks going. It was Melissa Croden beating up Tainara Lisboa. I opened the night very strong with picks here with this risky underdog pick. I picked Melissa Croden by KO. Wasn't all that confident, but she delivered and got a really impressive looking round 3 TKO. There was a few round 3 finishes in this card. I thought that Tainara Lisboa won round 1 on damage, but then round 2, Melissa Croden started reversing the clinches. She dropped Lisboa and beat her up against the cage. Lisboa had some very blatant fence grabs, but Croden was still able to get her into the position that she wanted. And then round 3 was a complete beatdown. Melissa Croden got a second wind, mixed in wrestling. She got a crucifix, I think, at one point, and she just pressured Lisboa until she completely broke and got TKO'd by Melissa Croden. So the Canadians, they cooked pretty hard, especially early, and I was feeling like we were off to a good night of picks, but yeah, it didn't quite eventuate. But good job, Melissa Croden. She's on her way up in that division. So yeah, pretty interesting card, entertaining for sure. A lot of blood, a lot of violence, a lot of upsets and underdogs, and yeah, just leaves the UFC in an interesting position after that card. There wasn't a huge amount of big names or consequential fights, but definitely some people, some guys leveled up their careers and girls leveled up their career in this card for sure. I think there was some big performances. Melissa Croden put herself on the map. Belgawi announced himself. Stephanie Luciano did good. Jordan Santos, probably his best performance. Bruno Silva, crafty as anything. Arichi Lung, what the hell was that? Drew Dober, back in the winning column. Kyle Nelson, he's going to be a problem at lightweight. Jordan, best performance of his career. Manon Fiorot, probably same for her. Massive robbery. Aiemann Zahabi, what are we going to do with him? Mike Malott showed that he can bang and take a bit of damage, and he landed some good shots on Holland and pushed his way through the chaos in that fight. And Brendan Allen rises to the top of the middleweight division. I'll be interested to see where he goes. But yeah, pretty cooked card, cooked results. Picks sucked, but I think I did better than some of the big prediction guys anyway. I think a lot of people got a lot of picks wrong on this card. So we'll take it in our stride. We'll do better next week. Got a big card coming up next week. I'll drop some content for that. Hope you enjoyed the breakdown, and we'll get on to these bonuses now, eh? The Punch Ons bonuses hitting you now. I've got my checkbook ready. It's time to give out the Punch Ons bonuses of the night. First one is for Fight of the Night. I think this one pretty clearly can go to Kyle Prepelec versus Drew Dober. Yeah, sick fun scrap this one. Both boys threw down. Both were tagging each other up, landing shots. Dober got peppered and got his face busted up. His leg got disgustingly, hideously split open and was leaking blood all over the show. Prepelec had a sick chin and was throwing overhands and getting whipped up by Dober throughout the fight. Gets him, the dick kick does put a little bit of a sour on things, but I love how straight after Drew Dober just hunted him down and got him out of there by TKO. Respect to both of these boys. I'm going to give them 60,000 of my imaginary money. Good job, boys. We're handing out 3 performance bonuses tonight, fellas. Haven't checked the ones on the UFC website, but I'm assuming they'll be pretty similar because, it was fairly obvious who deserves them in this one. First up, we're going to give one to Arichi Lung. Easy money for Arichi Lung. He gets a performance bonus as well. He's taken that money laughing straight to the bank because he spent 21 seconds inside the octagon against Cody Gibson. Knocks him out clean, and he'll be able to jump back in there very soon and get another payday too. So good stuff for Arichi Lung. Not a whole lot to talk about, but you can't get a 20-second KO and not get a bonus. So there's my first one. Second bonus is going to go to Yusri Belgawi. Very, very impressive performance from him, putting a stop to a very well-respected and hyped-up guy in Azamat Bakoyev. In hindsight, he had all the tools to get it done, way outranged him, way faster, way more powerful, but it's definitely a great performance from Belgawi, considering he didn't look that great in the Contender Series or in his career, and he's only pretty new to MMA, so I'm going to give him a performance bonus there. Great stuff from Yusri Belgawi. I'll be watching his next fight. Charles Air Jourdain is getting a performance bonus too. Nasty stuff from Charles Jourdain. Set up that jumping knee expertly and landed it hard and flush on Davey Grant's chin. Busted him up bad. Jumps on for the guillotine choke. 2 finishes in one fight, basically. Nasty stuff from Charles Jourdain. Definitely gained a lot of hype there, and I'll be very closely watching where he goes next. Good stuff, Charles Jourdain. And we're handing out the most cooked performance, and this one hurts to say because the only deserving recipient of the most cooked performance of the night, it's Reinier de Ridder, RDR, the Dutch Knight himself. Hype dead, progress halted, taking 2 steps back in the middleweight division. We thought he was going to be the guy to wrestle the belt off Hamzat, but now he's back to the back of the line and the other contenders are leaving him in their wake. Amavov, Allen, even Fluffy are going to be higher in the rankings now than RDR, and it's a very disappointing performance from my guy. I still love him. I still like him. He's done me solid in the past, but yeah, this was not his greatest performance. And a worthy recipient of the most cooked performance on UFC Vancouver. And that will just about do it for this week's fight recap video. Hope you enjoyed the content this week. The fights were sick. Not my greatest predictions, but that's not what it's all about. We're here for the banter. We're here for the laughs. We're here for the fun. And we're just here to watch the fights. And it was a sick, violent card. I'm not complaining. Picks be damned. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Punch Ons is just getting started, so help a brother out here. I'll see you guys on the next one. Punch on.